Last year was our first Veterans Day one-on-one event, and it was sponsored by Champaign West Rotary. This year, we have 7 different clubs represented. And I want to tell you a little bit about how the program got started. It was only a generation ago that my father came to this country. Well, he didn't just come here, he fought very hard to get to this country. It was his devotion to the United States and the freedom it provided him and his family that inspired me. You see, for about 3 years in the late 1930s, my father and his parents lived on the run and in hiding from the Nazis through Austria, to Germany, to Holland, to Belgium, and then to France, where they were arrested for their religion. They were separated and placed in concentration camps. Through a series of events showing the good side of human nature, they managed to escape the camps and make their way to America. My father passed away. My mother gave me my father's diary that he kept through all this terrible time. It was written in German, then French, and finally English. One of the last entries was on February 23rd, 1941. My dad wrote, "I'm in the United States now, the only country with real freedom. Free, free, free." And that was all in capital letters. A real democracy. Reading this in his diary, and when I really understood my father's love for this country. My dad fought to come here, and then he fought to keep it free. He was a World War II veteran, and he fought in the European theater. Last summer, I had the opportunity to travel to Europe with my wife and my kids and follow my father's trek to freedom. Through my dad's experience, we saw firsthand how people around the world struggle to come to America for the freedoms that it affords. And there are many, many millions of stories just like that. You know, for my job as an artist, I look around and I see the magnificence of the everyday. And I know very well that this beauty wouldn't be possible if we weren't free to live our everyday lives and pursue our passions. That's part of the beauty I see. In this great country, you can do just about anything. We're free to pursue education, service, and commerce. When I was starting out, all I did was knock on doors. Anything is possible, but you have to be free. With that in mind, a few years ago, I was talking to my friend and fellow Rotarian, Chuck Abbott, and he mentioned to me that every Veterans Day, he takes a veteran out to lunch. What a way to show his appreciation. One-on-one. Today, each of you veterans has been invited personally by a Rotarian to thank you for your service to our country and to our freedom. I know I speak for everyone in this room when I say I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so proud that our Rotary clubs have embraced this opportunity. The committee working with me on Veterans Day one-on-one has been amazing, and I'd like to acknowledge and thank all of them. Sarah Marshke, Ron Ensley, Greg Gonda, Don Van Buskirk, Kim Summers, Chuck Abbott, and Carlton Brewitt, all from Champaign West. Jay Downey from Champaign Rotary, and Ata Durican from CU Sunrise Rotary, and Ray Elliott from the Urbana Rotary Club, as well as all the other Rotarians who have made today possible. Now I'd like to turn our program over to Ron Ensley, a fellow Rotarian and veteran, to introduce our speaker. Ron has been involved with Veterans Day one-on-one since its inception and proudly served our country with the 101st Airborne Division in Vietnam. Ron?
Thank you, Larry. Good afternoon. Today I'm honored to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Berger, 3rd of the 101st Aviation Regiment, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Lieutenant Colonel Burke is a 1994 graduate of St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota. Following graduation, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army and branched aviation. After initial rotary wing training and the AH-64A Apache helicopter qualification course, he was assigned to the 2nd of the 101st Aviation Regiment, Eagle Warriors, as an AH-64A Apache platoon leader. After 16 months in this position, he was assigned as an aviation support platoon leader for 12 months and the Battalion S4 for 4 months. In 1999, he was assigned to the 6th Cavalry Brigade at Camp Humphrey, Korea, where he served as an assistant brigade operations officer for 7 months before assuming command of Alpha Troop 3rd Squadron 6th Cav, checkmate, for 19 months. In 2001, he was assigned to Human Resources Command in Washington, D.C. as an assignment officer for branch qualified aviation captains. In 2003, he was selected into the Army's Joint Chiefs of Staff Office of the Secretary of Defense internship program, where upon graduation from Georgetown University in 2004, he served as the military intern in the immediate office of the Secretary of Defense for 12 months, followed by a 12-month deployment to Iraq as the executive officer, first and then General Petraeus, and then General Dempsey, both of whom served as the commanding general, Multinational Security Transition Command Iraq and NATO Training Mission Iraq. In 2007, following the AH-64D Longbow Apache course, he was assigned to the 3rd of the 101st Aviation Regiment, Eagle Attack, as the operations officer for 22 months, deploying to Afghanistan in November 2008, and then assumed the executive officer duties for the last 6 months of the deployment. Prior to assuming command of the 3rd of the 101st Aviation Regiment, he was assigned to the Joint Staff as the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. as the Deputy Chief of the Strategic Plans and Policy Division within the Pakistan-Afghanistan Coordination Cell. Lieutenant Colonel Burke is a graduate of the Aviation Basic Course, the Armor Captain's Career Course, the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in English from St. John's University and a Master's in Public Policy from Georgetown University. His awards and decorations include the Bronze Star Medal, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, 2 Air Medals, the Joint Commendation Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, the Joint Service Achievement Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Afghan Campaign Medal, the Iraq Campaign Medal, and the NATO Medal. He has also earned the Combat Action Badge, Senior Army Aviator Badge, and the Air Assault Badge. He and his wife Frances have 2 daughters, Mary and Claire, and they are expecting a son in March. They are joined today by his parents, Kevin and Rita Burke. Please join me in welcoming Lieutenant Thomas Burke.
Thank you very much, Ron, for that very warm welcoming, and for all of you for putting up for that long dissertation. So I'd like to begin by saying to the Champaign West Rotary and to all our distinguished guests, thank you for the very warm reception. On behalf of Major General James McConville, the Commanding General of the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault, thank you for the honor and the opportunity to recognize fellow veterans, their families, and the communities and organizations who have stood shoulder to shoulder with veterans throughout all these years. If I may, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask all of our veterans to please stand. And if you aren't able to stand, just please raise your hand. I'd just like to say on behalf On behalf of our nation and the countless millions of people around the world, your actions help to liberate from tyranny. Thank you very much for your service to our country. You know, as I prepared for this speech, I spent some time researching the history of some notable veterans who once called or continue to call Champaign-Urbana home. My research yielded some pretty interesting results. As some of you may be aware, perhaps through careful study of this man's work, Hugh Hefner joined the Army in 1944 before he attended the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. Surrounded as I am tonight by a sea of decorated veterans and luminaries from the area, none of you researched quite as colorfully as the Hef. And if anyone is wondering who Hugh Hefner may be, I'll be available for questions right after this. As noted, my parents are here tonight, Kevin and Rita Burke, as well as my wife, Frances. You know, at points in our lives, we have friends and family members who inspire us to serve a purpose greater than ourselves, whether that's in uniform or out. For me, my parents were that inspiration. As a child, I knew that my dad was once in the Army, had served in Vietnam and saw combat. As I got older, and especially as I prepared to enter military service, I learned more about my dad's service overseas and my mom's devotion at home. They were a young Army couple when my dad deployed to Vietnam in October of 1965. He, a 24-year-old platoon leader with 1/4 or quarter cav of the 1st Infantry Division, otherwise known as the Big Red One. My mom, a 20-year-old newlywed, only 8 weeks removed from her wedding, and miraculously, all these years later, she has yet to break 30 years of age. My dad would return from his year-long tour a decorated combat veteran, having earned the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, and 2 Purple Hearts for his heroism and sacrifice. My mom, no less courageous on the home front, welcomed back my dad, and together they settled in the Chicago area and began a family before embarking on an amazing journey of travel and adventure all over the United States and into the interiors of Canada and Alaska. It was an incredible experience for them and for the 7 children that they raised along the way. But after all these years, 47 years to be precise, they still reflect with near-perfect memories that year my dad deployed to the jungles of Vietnam, and how that experience strengthened their love for each other and sharpened their sense of duty and selfless service to their family and their fellow man. Quite simply, I couldn't have asked for better parents, had that opportunity been available to me, of course. And they have proudly stood beside me for the 18 years I have worn this uniform. They are truly my heroes, so thank you, Mom and Dad. So while my parents, my wife, and our extended family enjoy a long history of support and service for our veterans, they are not alone. For nearly a century, the United States has celebrated veterans on this day. When the guns of the Great War fell silent, with the German signing of the Armistice Agreement, famously concluded at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the world believed we had fought the war to end all wars. But as history proved, we still needed and continue to need our men and women in uniform. Peace, though oftentimes fragile, is often wrought from hands once strong enough to toil at the anvil of war. And tonight we're here to celebrate the strength, courage, and dedication of our veterans who not only wield the hammer of conflict, but who also shape the world for lasting peace. The brave actions of our veterans endure throughout history. Today I ask that we not only remember their gallantry on the battlefield, we must look at the lasting legacy of strength and service they brought with them when they returned home. If you walk away remembering 3 things, I think you will better understand what our veterans do for this nation and then what we can do to help them. And since most of you here are veterans yourselves or closely associated with our nation's heroes, you will feel most deeply the importance of helping to honor our soldiers' service to our country.